Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl, and I'm here with my good friends, Dan and Jason and Angel. And today we're going to continue our discussion of the book, Love, Life, God by Jarrad Hewett. And we're talking about chapter 3. And chapter 3 discusses, it's kind of titled Divine Right, Destiny, and Self-Creation. So we're going to be talking about destiny as it relates to the book and how Jarrad and his conversation with God is how they talk about destiny. But before we get going, just a little bit of housekeeping. For those of you who are watching this live on Facebook, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So if you want to just share your comments below this video, let us know what you think about destiny and this topic that or the chapter as we go along. And then for those of you who are watching this as a recording on YouTube, comment below the YouTube video, click like on this video if you like it, and subscribe to our channel so you'll get updated each time we put another video up on there. And if you'd like to participate with us next week, you can find us in mindsetmasterycollective.com. That will take you directly into our Facebook group where you can ask to participate. We'd love to have you. Okay, with that, guys, go ahead and take a moment to introduce yourselves, and then we will get into this discussion.
Hey, Jason Roberts here. Glad to be here. Looking forward to the discussion. It's going to be good.
Angel Studebaker here in Beaufort, South Carolina.
Dan Sissick in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we're having so far a mild winter and kind of average temperature, so I'm liking it a little bit more than normal and looking forward to our wonderful discussion this morning. And welcome to Jason. He hasn't been here for a little while, so glad to have you back with us.
Yeah, we all haven't been here for a little while. Well, we went on vacation not the beginning of December. I think our last meeting was early in December, and so we took a break for a few weeks for the holidays, and then got going again today. So, and I think Sandy Root just jumped on with us. I don't know if she's got audio and video yet, but Sandy, whenever you have a chance, if you want to jump out and introduce yourself, feel free to do so. If not, there you are. Can you hear us okay, Sandy?
Yes, am I here?
Yep,
Good
if you want
morning.
to jump out.
Yes, hi, Sandy Root here in Miami Beach. I'll be in and out a little bit. I have to get ready to go to my office. Good to see you all. Happy New Year.
Yay, glad to have you on. Awesome. I'm so glad that we're back talking about our book again. I've missed you all, and I miss these discussions. Even though I've been really busy over the holidays, I still miss you. So I'm glad that we're back again. Okay, so Dan's showing us a copy of the book there, Love, Life, God by Jarrad Hewett. And if you don't have a copy of the book, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that there's a link below the video where you can get a copy of it. You can either get it on the physical copy or the Kindle version on Amazon. I'm sure there's other places you could get it too, but I've got a link down there below where you can find that. And then also you can find it on Spotify as a recording. So I think it's free on there, which is kind of interesting. I can't remember. I know that I got on there and got it, but at the time I had a Spotify membership, so I'm not sure about it being the free version, or if it just kind of has it on there and you get a listen to chapters randomly if you don't have the paid version. I don't know. But then it's also on iTunes, so you can find it there too if you're an iPhone person. Okay, so chapter 3 discusses divine right, destiny, and self-creation, and it kind of starts out by saying most people living within this plane of existence perceive that they have a destiny. And in this chapter, they want to talk about what this feeling represents. But before we kind of get going on that, I kind of wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts were on destiny. What does destiny mean to you? Or have you ever felt, do you feel like you have a destiny, or have you always wondered about your destiny? What is it? What are your thoughts on destiny? Who wants to jump out and share?
Well, jump out a little bit because to me, the definition of destiny is something that I guess in a way you're planning for, or what your life will play out, or how you see your life playing out. And a lot of times it never plans plays out that way. What you think is, when I was younger, I thought I'd be married, have a couple kids, and have that white picket fence, and you know, be able to go on vacations to places for those winter retreats, and then places for those summer retreats, and it's not even remotely come close to that. So um, that's kind of what I think remote, the destiny thing plays out. But I haven't looked up the actual definition though, and I was going to try and do that really quick.
I kind of feel like it's the same, kind of what like Dan was saying. Like I feel like I kind of think it's more of like I wouldn't necessarily say your purpose, but that feeling that you're meant to do something in this world, not necessarily like it's set in stone, but like there's something that you're meant to do, you're meant to be, or something like that. And I kind of feel like that's destiny, maybe, or that could go coincide with, life purpose or something like that. But I think they go hand in hand, destiny and purpose. They might just be one and of the same, just different words. But I always feel like I've always had, like, I need to do something here, but I'm not quite sure what it is yet. I've always felt like I have something that I want to do or that I need to do. And I feel like that's kind of what destiny is. It's that feeling that you maybe needing to do something, or that you want to do something, or that feeling of you're meant for greater things. Maybe that's what destiny is. But who knows what those greater things could be? It could just be, something as simple as rescuing a dog, or or an animal, not necessarily just a dog, but like rescuing an animal, or having a family. Just it might be simple things, or it could be like greater good things, like you could end all the wars in the world and create world peace. I'm not sure, but that's kind of what my set on destiny is. I think it goes hand in hand with your purpose, or what you think your purpose might be. So, yeah, that's what I have to say.
I've got the definition of destiny, and hang on, let me get rid of the pop-up that popped up. Okay, it says definition of destiny: something to which a person or thing is destined, a predetermined course of events often held to be an irresistible power or agency. And then it's got like some synonyms: fate, destiny, lot, portion, doom, mean a predetermined state or end. Fate implies an inevitable and unusually an adverse outcome. So things like that. But I think I agree with you more, Angel, that it's more to how we look at our purpose on, destiny and purpose, because in our hearts, I think we all feel we have a purpose and kind of know what our purpose is, but where do we take that purpose and put it in line with our destiny? And I think this book kind of wants to allude to or help to show people how they can have some control over what their destiny is and their purpose is.
I think that's kind of what this whole chapter is about, is just saying that it isn't necessarily a predetermined path that you're set on. It's more of like, this is your choice. You put yourself here and you have the choice to choose whatever path that you want to follow. You know, everybody's always asking, oh, what's my life purpose? What do I need to do? What do I have to do? You know, it's kind of like, well, whatever you want to do. Is kind of what I feel this chapter is trying to get at. It's like, once you decide that you are in charge and you can create whatever it is that your heart desires, then that's when, I don't know where I was going with this. I lost my train of thought mid-thought. But yeah, that's kind of what I think that the chapter 3 is kind of getting at. It's like, yeah, I mean, we all have destiny and we all have purpose, but that purpose is up to you and that destiny is up to you. You know, with fate, I kind of have a hard time with fate because, you know, there's some things that I believe in fate with, and then there's other things where it's like, well, we have free will, you know, if fate is a thing, then where does our free will come from? Kind of thing. So it's like some things I think there's fate, and then other things it's like you have your own choice. This is your choice to choose to do whatever it is that you want to do, to create whatever it is. Maybe that's our destiny, to find out like, oh, anything's possible. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's all real interesting because it does seem like that. I've for the most part, I've always thought of, you know, destiny as being an overall outcome of that was predetermined, though I've sort of grown to believe that, you know, that from our decisions and, you know, other things that, you know, act upon our lives that are outside of our control, that may change, you know, it may alter the course of our destiny, so to speak. Kind of that's kind of where I stand. But as I was reading what was in the post for the event, and I found that really interesting because it brought to mind that, you know, perhaps you know, since you know, destiny could be you know, kind of fatefully the end result of our decisions and the culmination of the things that happen, you know, that are interacting with us outside of our control, that like what it's saying here in your post, Samantha, it's saying constant as the ever-present moment of now is our source, self, and love, life, God is at home to that concept. Understanding how to reach and operate from that center are the keys to uniting and healing not just a fractured culture, but a fractured self. And that sort of brings to mind that, you know, maybe we are constantly, as being in the now, being in living in our destiny each moment, because it is our decisions and the culmination of our life events that have brought us to this point. So in that perspective, we're constantly living in our destiny, no matter what, perhaps. So that's my thoughts. But I just thought that was interesting because it kind of came to mind, and that was a really good post in the events here on Facebook.
I like that you brought that up, Jason, because, you know, as Dan read the definition of destiny is kind of like predetermined, like that's like the absolute. And yet at the same time, we talk about free will. So it's kind of a contradiction. It's like, do we have free will or is everything predetermined? But if we look at it from like what you were saying, an in the moment situation, is this moment right here is happening. It's happening now. We have no control over it. You know, it's already here. It's already happened. And so it is our destiny to be in this moment right here and now, right? So it's predetermined, but it's not predetermined because of like some otherworldly thing. It's because we've made the choices to get here, right? So our choices determine our destiny, and our destiny is maybe just in the moment. Now, our future, we don't know what that holds. We have free will to create that future, but when we get there, that'll be our destiny, right? So I like that idea that you just brought up, Jason, because it kind of brings together that the how our free will creates our destiny versus this fate idea of we have no choice and it's going to happen whether we want it to or not. So that was great that you brought that up, and that information there that you read from, I think I had gotten that from like the description of the book, and because I think when I created that event page, I just kind of like grabbed some information from what the book is supposed to be about, and so I'm glad that you reminded us of that. Sandy, I saw you jumped on here. Did you? Oh, go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
Well, along in that in the same vein there, I just read half of that paragraph. The rest says, by tapping into who we really are, we begin to see in life-altering ways that through our own actions or inactions, thoughts, beliefs, etc., just how our world and our perspective of that world has come into being. And so from that, I gather a little bit about like what Dan was saying about our purpose, and what Angel was saying, our purpose, and in regards to now and our being and purpose now, being aware of that, we're living in our destiny in the moment, and what is our purpose, or what do we want our purpose to be in the moment, so to speak. So just thought I'd add that.
Well, I'm going to throw a little bit out, and I'm going to go from the book. It says, most people living within this plane of existence perceive that they have a destiny. We would like to explain what that feeling represents. And the author, I'm assuming, is saying, okay. And they're saying it can be many things. The remembrance of a desire from before physical incarnation was chosen. It can be your desire to form or move in a certain direction, but its implication is incorrect, because there is no thing which you must do in this life. There's no thing you were specifically put here to do. You chose to come here with your desires. You choose to come here with your creative abilities, and this sense of greater purpose, of destiny, is a wonderful remembrance of all your possibilities. So this is not, so he's saying, so this is not like soul school. And when I was reading this, it didn't really click this way. But I was talking with a friend of mine, who's been on our mastermind group last night. We were doing some stuff, and we got talking into some politics and things and stuff, and then we got into a little bit and led into this book. But I think what I'm getting out of this is, if I'm understanding what the book's trying to say, is that we've always been, and we were, and always will be, based on what we've gone over in the last couple chapters. And in that plane, we decide to, for lack of a better way of saying it, but in that medium or plane, or that existence, we decide to come here into our physical incarnate, physical beings, with the limitations and everything that it brings about by being in the three-dimensional sphere. But we lose maybe some of that remembrance of that. So that's why, and we get maybe disassociated from that, I think, a lot of times. And so we forget what that initial purpose was, or what we desired to have this life look out, or what we wanted to get out of it. And so then therefore we kind of get trapped in here, and we see us having not a lot of control over things. But in reality, if we stop and take the time, we have control of our thoughts, and every thought we make then opens up possibilities for those things. But if we can tune into what our essence or being is telling us or guiding us to, or what our gut feeling, or however you want to put it, is leading us into, that may be part of where that destiny comes in, that we're trying to tap into that. because we know and we sense that we know and we sense that there's something we're supposed to do and we're here for, but sometimes we don't get connected back to what that is.
That's very interesting.
I like how it talks about the fact that it says in here, this book is kind of written like it's a conversation, like Jarrad is having this conversation with God. And so when when he asks something, or when the God character is kind of expressing something, that it's like coming from source, if you will. And so I find it's just really interesting. It says, and you read this, Dan, about the part where it says there's no thing you were specifically put here to do. And and I really like that idea, because I feel like my idea of what I want to do can change from one year to the next, or sometimes even from one day to the next, and a lot of times I feel like, gosh, uh, what isn't I'm supposed to do? We kind of touched on this idea earlier about having a feeling of, we think we're supposed to do something, we think it's supposed to be some specific thing, but yet our finger never lands on it. I mean, I know there are some people in the world who have known since they were born that they were going to do this one thing. They do this one thing, and that's all they focus on, and they're dedicated to it. And I've never felt that way. I've always kind of been on this kind of constant journey throughout my life. Yeah, a roller coaster, if you will, of sometimes I'm really focused on one specific thing for a while, and then I get bored with it, and I'm like, all right, I'm over this. I need to do something different. And so I guess I've kind of struggled off and on with this idea that there's some specific purpose for myself. And a number of years ago, I remember coming across a video. One of our members shared it with us, and I think it was Melissa Gilbert. Was it Melissa? I don't know. I think that's who it was that did this talk. And she had always felt like she had a very specific purpose in her life, and that's what she had always taught everybody. She wrote books and discussed this whole having a purpose. But then she came across a friend of hers that she got to know over time, and that person was very, very successful in her life, but never did any one specific thing for more than a short period of time. And so that totally contradicted her idea of like destiny and purpose. And I know that there's a lot of websites dedicated to finding your purpose and finding your destiny and that sort of thing, but yet I know a lot of people who have never been focused on one specific thing for more than a short period of time in their lives, and who have struggled with that, wondering what's wrong with me? Why haven't I found my purpose, kind of a thing. And yet, in the times when they've been very focused on one particular thing, they've been very successful. And I kind of feel the same way of, in my life. And when I had my pet business, I was very successful doing that, but I got bored with it. And I'm like, I don't want to do this forever. It's not my thing anymore. And so I stopped doing that. And then I was just kind of like wandering around, not really knowing what I was going to do. And then like our community here with, the Mindset Mastery Collective and the Saturday Morning Mastermind kind of started it. And I was feeling really focused on it. And for a while I was like gung ho and did all this stuff online and created this and that. And then, but then that evolved into something else. And over time, we've kind of had these kind of ups and downs with when we feel like we're really all focused on making this into something. And then other times where we're just like, we just like hanging out together and talking about stuff. And, so it's kind of an evolution of life experiences, if you will. And of course, on the business aspect of it, and I've always thought that people feel like their destiny has to be tied to like a career option, and I've always felt like, you know, the things that I have the most interest in aren't necessarily things that generate the most money, right? You know, so it's kind of a thing. It's like, okay, well, you know, on one hand, I can focus on our business, our trucking business, and feel like, oh, okay, well, that's supporting me financially, but it really doesn't give me any kind of fulfillment. And yet then when I come over here and I hang out with you guys and it's not any kind of a business, it's just kind of like us all hanging out and having a good time together. You know, I feel like this is kind of it's part of my purpose too, if you will. So I mean, I know that it's a thing that I enjoy doing, and I feel compelled to do it, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like my purpose or destiny, or, but who knows? I mean, if we talk about destiny, like we were just saying a minute ago, Jason, like when we say, you know, this moment is our destiny because we've made the decisions to be here, then I guess it's our destiny, you know, so I don't know. Sandy, I see you listening in the background. We haven't heard from you. Want to jump in and share your thoughts?
Sure, I've been listening in and out. I've been hearing about destiny and purpose, and yeah, I was, when you were talking, I was remembering a period in my life where I knew, I've always known since I was a kid, like there's a reason I'm here, there's a purpose. And, you know, there were periods in my life where I knew I wasn't doing what I was here for. And I think when we're off track, we can feel it. We feel it in our soul, in our emotions, in our being. And it wasn't until I've been doing acupuncture that I feel like this is, you know, part of my purpose, and I feel like I'm in the right place. But there's still more. Like I'm like, there's still, you know, a bigger purpose, and I'll see how that unfolds. But I think a lot of times people don't do their purpose because of society. Like when I wasn't doing my purpose, it was because I need to get a job for money, and you know, we're chasing the money or something else. Like I need to do what my parents told me to do, or which was what I was doing for many years as well. And so I think people can get off track from their destiny and purpose because of chasing the wrong thing, whether it's money or listening to someone else telling them what they're supposed to do. And so you're out of alignment, and when you're out of alignment, you feel it. You know you're not, you know, doing it, because when you're doing your purpose, you're excited. You feel like, yes, you know, you get up and you know that you're in a place that you feel that you're doing the right thing for your path at the moment. And it can change. I think purposes can change over time because we grow, we change. So I think that's why I'm also thinking on a different level now. Like I will continue doing acupuncture, I think, of course, but there's maybe integrating some other practice as well. Yeah, I don't know what it is yet, but I know there's something else. I can just feel it. So I think it'll unfold at the right time, and I'll meet the right people at the right time that guide me to whatever that is. So yeah, that's it. Oh, and it reminds me, I had a friend calling me the other day because she's really, she had gotten a new job for making money, because she's actually a holistic health practitioner, but because of the whole situation, she went up to Maine to live because her daughter's there in case anything happens with the whole stuff that's going on in the US. She wanted to be close to her daughter to protect her. And she realized, you know, I'm doing this out of fear for my daughter. I'm not following my heart and my path. And you know, it's a difficult situation because of course she loves her daughter and cares for her, but she also needs to follow her heart at the same time. So she was just so distraught this week. Like, what do I do? Do I move, you know, to Florida? Because she's been thinking of moving here. And, you know, everybody's saying, yes, go, follow your heart. You know, that's where your soul and your body wants to be right now. So she's having to deal with that and really finding her purpose again. And it's probably, you know, she was saying it's like the 6th, 7th time I'm in this spot of having to find my purpose again. So, you know, I think it's normal that we fluctuate and we find new purposes. And, you know, she was a good example. Like she was physically feeling sick to her stomach because she was trying to do this life insurance job that she just hated because it's not what she wants to do. And she was literally sick. So she's like, I can't do this. You know, it's not what I'm here to do. So, yeah. That's it for me for now.
Oh, I was gonna jump back out and pull something from the book. It's another part right after what I read earlier, and it says, "Right, source isn't grading or judging you; it's simply smiling, coming forth within you, whispering, remember, remember what you wanted to do. Remember who you are. Remember your dreams. Follow them. It's good to follow your dreams. It's good to create what you want. It's good that you remember who you are." And then he says, "I thought good and bad were just judgments." And it goes on to say, we're not saying good in the sense it's bad to do the opposite. We're saying using the term good because following your heart's truest desires feels good. And when you feel good, you're in a state of allowance. And when you're in an allowance, you are in love. When you're in love, you pave the way for the expansion of consciousness and you pave the way for all that is. And I think I think we all kind of understand that innately within us that when we're, you know, um, in that state of where, we're feeling good about where we're at, what we're doing, what we're contributing, um, and a lot of times, like for some of the things that I really have some passions for and stuff, um, and it's mainly for kids and people who have experienced similar things I've gone through. My heart opens up to them, and I just want to, let them know that that they're worth it, they're valuable, they're worth time and energy and effort, you know, to be cared about, and that somebody should. And if it's not your direct family, there should be somebody around you that can still give you that. And so going into that, um, I think, that's when I'm allowing more in and allowing and opening. And I think when we're all in that sense of whatever we truly feel is what gives us our greatest um, pleasure, fulfillment, and sense of what we're here for, that's when we're most open and allowing, I think, in a way, the truest sense of love of what it is. And therefore, we're more open to things and willing to take those chances and do those things. It's when we get into that free will part and where other people may not reciprocate or do things, or we experience something out of our control that we tend to pull back or shy away, or get turned off and say, oh, I don't like that, and then we kind of close down and shut down even our um what am I saying? Not our conscience, but our soul being, or that part of
Energy field.
that, yeah, the energy that connects to the whole, everything kind of goes to a lower vibration, or to it just changes where we're at. And so then we start getting into the negative, and then that kind of takes over.
I kind of want to go back to the living in the moment thing. I really like that. In my whole life, I've always lived in the moment. My dad has told me, "Oh, you live in the moment. You need to plan for the future. You need to do this." And like, I get it. I really do. I get, planning for the future and doing all that stuff. But I also feel like it's really, really important to live in the moment. And maybe it could be like what our destiny is, like what you were saying, Jason, is in the moment. It's whatever you're doing in this moment, or whatever. Because I mean, if you take the time to stop, slow down, and actually sit there and look around, look at all that you have, all that's going around, it's beautiful. It's freaking amazing, like I just love living in the moment and just letting it take me wherever it feels I need to go. I feel like it's just really important, because then also when you're in those moments, you find out, this is what I really like. I really like this, or I really don't like this. You really find out what you do and don't want. And it also frees you from all of the stress that you all the stress of the things that you can't change or that you don't have any control over. Because if you sit there and you think about it and you're like, oh, I can't change this, I have no control over this, oh, it just kind of brings everything down, you know, brings your vibration down, because you get upset that you have no control over this. And then you sit there and you start thinking about it. You're like, all right, how can I do this? How can I change this? And you're not living in the moment anymore. And you just cause so much stress and everything like that. It's kind of one of those, it's like, all right, it's like, I can't control this, so why am I going to stress about this? You know, yes, it's frustrating, but if I can't change it, then there's no point in stressing out about it. And so I really feel like it's very important to live in the moment no matter what. You know, because once you get into the cycle of life, and you lose touch with things that are important to you. You know, you might lose touch with family, or you might lose touch with nature or your religion or whatever, because you get so sucked into this whole thing of life and responsibilities and stress and everything like that. And I feel like when that happens, you stray further away from your destiny per se, because you get sucked into all the stress, and your energies are all just, you know, down, and you're not connected to anything. But when you live in the moment, you're connected with everything, because you can see everything and you can feel everything, because that's what you're focusing on, is the moment. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I feel like I'm just repeating my same point in different ways, but but I just really wanted to say that I feel like it's important. It just makes sense, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's my destiny. It's just to forever live in the moment. I don't know.
I love that, Angel, and that's a great reminder of you know, because I have always been like a big picture thinker, and always thinking about everything and how everything affects everything, and blah blah blah, you know, and more often than not, when I'm thinking about all those things, it brings up fear for one reason or another. Fear that it's not, that whatever I'm doing right now isn't going to have the outcome that I'm hoping for, or fear that, you know, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or you know, and it's interesting, because now when you talk about this in the moment versus all of these things that we think, so much of the time when you're not living in the moment, you're basically living in fear of some sort. And because you're trying to plan ahead to avoid something, or plan ahead to create something, or plan ahead, and you're missing out on that, on the moment kind of thing. And here, this whole idea that they're saying, you know, where saying specifically, okay, it says, whatever you want, whatever you wish to accomplish is your divine right, and therefore its accomplishment is your divine right. Know that whatever you do is your destiny, and therefore there is no right and there is no wrong. And that doesn't mean you don't have a purpose. In fact, your purpose is what it's always been, to create. Your purpose is to love yourself. Your purpose is to have the full experience of that which you are. And what I am is a human in this human world with all of this human possibilities. And if I can really love what I am, then where I am and what I'm doing is, you know, it's, I can love it, versus sitting here and criticizing it, you know, criticizing what I think I should be doing. Or further down here, it talks about the stories of, like, we have stories of what we believe we must become, or what we think we must do, or think we you know, are supposed to do, or what society is suggesting that we are supposed to do. And yet, when, like you were saying, we're just in the moment, and then we can sit here and we can experience what's right here in front of us, what's going on in the moment, and realize that we're okay, we're safe, we're taken care of, or, you know, whatever it is we think we're afraid of is not actually happening. You know? So I mean, or even if something is happening that is less than desirable, we can still take a pause and be like, okay, well, what am I actually experiencing? And you know, it's like last night I went to bed and I had a migraine, and I know not everybody is healthy right now in their lives, and so when we don't feel good, we have this experience of not feeling good, obviously. But even in, like, the most intense pain of my migraine, I can still be like, I can still be in the moment and experience, even though there's this pain, I can still experience a peace within the pain, if you will. It's hard to kind of explain, but it's weird how in the most extreme of anything, you can still find peace inside of it. And that's just, I kind of wonder, I don't know, that's just something that came into my head just now when we're talking about trying to be in the moment. And even with all of the craziness that's going on in the world, is that when we're in that moment, you're not in the fear of everything that's going on, you're in the moment. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Sorry, Sparcy, just real quick. Sparcy, I did want to add is a perfect example of living in the moment is to look or watch small children. They are the epitome of living right now. Like, I need it now, right now. You know, they are such a great example of living in the moment. Is you just need to watch how they do it. And they're so happy. These children are so happy all the time. They're happy about anything and everything. And it's just, they have no worries because they're not, so their minds aren't set on the future. Like Mom was saying, it's like when you're so focused on this, you can't concentrate on now. And it's, like I said, the best example of living in the moment is children. They are the epitome of living in the moment. So, all right, that's all I wanted to add. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too, also when you're in the moment, you know, when you're, and going back to a little bit of what Samantha was saying, but also along, and to add in what you were saying about kids, but when you're in that moment, if you can still be in that moment and gain peace in that moment, I think that's a true accomplishment because you're not letting whatever's going on around you distract you from the true embodiment of what is going on in that moment. You're not being distracted by, oh, I've got this headache, and it's just, you know, because then you're focusing on that rather than whatever. But if you can, like you said, push back through it and still say, oh, okay, I can still see the good things coming out of this or what's happening in this moment and stuff. And I think that's part of, you know, learning how to work both together, you know, be in that destiny and work towards that destiny, but still somehow still be able to enjoy and take in this moment for what it is. And going into what Angel was saying, that yeah, kids are a great example, but at the same time they're a great example of how a meltdown can really, you know, take over that moment too, because they're in that moment and they're having that meltdown because whatever bad is happening, they're focused on that in that moment. And but if you can get them to refocus their attention or satisfy, you know, especially for even littler ones, you know, that need for, I need food right now, or I need my, you know, this taken care of or that. And then once that's done, they become happy again and they're back in that moment. And I think we forget to be that we in our mind can have that power to choose to say, okay, I'm going to be in this moment and I'm going to step outside of the issues of what's going on, deal with them and get through them, but also still take out of that moment, you know, what you need that will be good to help grow and move you to the next plane or the next destiny that is coming up, that depending on whatever happens there comes up, so you can be somewhat ready for that, if I'm making any sense with what I'm saying.
Yeah, Dan, it sort of gets to the core of like what's so difficult about living in the moment, but then also preparing for the future. And it's like, well, do we? It's very difficult to live in the moment and appreciate things, and then draw that appreciation out into the future along with you as you're focusing on the future. And it reminded me, what Samantha was saying reminded me of someone a long time ago brought up the idea of, and he put it this way: are you the carrot or the stick? And I'm like, I didn't get that. I'm like, carrot or stick? What are you talking about? And he said, well, are you motivated? Are you like like they used to do in the old days with mules? They would either use a stick to slap them on the behind, or they would have a carrot out in front of them and give them incentive to go move forward. And it's like, well, are you drawn to being someone who's looking for fear for motivation, or are you looking for reward for motivation? And I think that, like Samantha said, a lot of times we can be, without even knowing it, we can be more drawn to the fear in the future of what's going to happen, perhaps just out of our nature of where, what our upbringing was and our experiences have been. What Sandy was saying too was that in regards to being in alignment and growth and emotions, it brought to light in our discussion about how our path and our destiny, at least out into the future, can be altered by having our emotions sort of distracted or hijacked by outside forces beyond our control, that we then don't realize, as she was saying with her example, that person realized there was, so they were changing the course of what they wanted to do out of fear. And where the book is talking about, when you're in your purpose, you're acting within, out of love, or you're able to experience love as, in this sort of stream of consciousness, or this consciousness. And I think what you were saying was so to the core of the issue or the problem with like what Angel was saying was, it's, living in the now is really we're always in the now, and if that's our destiny, everything brought us to this point, and so we should be appreciating that and finding the goodness and appreciation of where we are at this point, what we've been through to bring us here, and all that. And at the same time, it does take some mind manipulation, if you will, to draw that appreciation out into the future, at the same time, sort of living in both streams of consciousness, but with maybe the ultimate purpose in our own mind of making the most out of our existence as being human beings, and living and finding and being in our own purpose, and having the best impact that we can in our own lives, for ourselves and for the people that we love around us too. So I thought that was very insightful, Dan. Thanks, and you too, Angel, and also what Sandy was saying, is it all kind of comes together there, Very interesting.
I hate to be a wet blanket, but we are at the top of the hour, and so we're going to have to wrap up this conversation here pretty soon. So if anybody has just kind of some final thoughts before we wrap up for today, go ahead and jump out, share those, and then I'll wrap us up. And of course, we can continue our discussion next week, or in the comments here on Facebook or on YouTube. So, okay, jump out, guys. Anybody else?
I just want to do a quick jump out and shout out to Lori and all the other people that are out there that wanted to be here today, and might be going through some difficult times as well, with whether they're sick or just going through some difficult times. Hope to see you back on, and I hope wish you all well.
I don't know how to put my thoughts into words, but with the present moment stuff was definitely resonating, because I was remembering when I was younger, I most of my life, I was very much present moment. I even remember interviewing for a job once. I forget what the question was, but I answered like, oh, I just go with the flow and, sort of live in the moment. And they didn't like that answer because they wanted somebody who's, preparing and getting things ready for the, even though you can do that in the present moment, they just thought I was sort of flighty. And I'm like, well, living in the moment, you can get stuff done living in the moment too. Because I think you said the word prepare, Jason, we're preparing for the future, but we can, of course, prepare in the moment. You're preparing and you're in the moment while you prepare. But I think naturally we are beings that live in the moment, and we get, into society, and society tells us, well, you got to do this and you got to plan for that and you got to think about the future and da-da-da. And so we get trained to really always be out of the moment. And I think naturally that is what we are in the moment. And we just have to remind ourselves, because we're been so ingrained to like, look at this and look at this in this direction and that direction. And so, but at the core, I believe we're in the moment beings. Great to see you all, great discussion, and see you next time.
Yeah, it's interesting because this has been a great discussion, and the time flew when Samantha was saying, "Oh, I don't want to be a wet blanket." And it's like, yes, you're being a wet blanket because this has been such a good discussion. But I'm being in that moment right now and really loving and relishing it. But that's part of this moment. And so now it's coming to its close, and now I got to get ready for other moments. But look forward to as we go on and more into this chapter, because I think there's so much more we can cover in here. We just barely even got started in there. So looking forward to next week.
All right, guys. Well, this has been a great chat. Like you were all just saying, we've had a great talk today and talked about a lot and a little all at the same time, because we barely got started on this chapter. So next week, we'll continue our discussion of Chapter 3 from Love, Life, God by Jarrad Hewett. And for those of you who are watching, if you want to participate with us, by all means, let us know that you want to. Comment below this video here on Facebook, on the live stream in our group. Or if you're watching us on YouTube and you want to jump in and join us, then you need to go to mindsetmasterycollective.com. That'll take you right into our Facebook group where you can connect with us and ask to participate. So with that, guys, have an awesome.
Wait. I just wanted to throw in, Lori says she will re-listen to the replay when it gets put up, and she says that I get so stressed when I get into future thinking. So I just wanted to add that little bit from her.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks, Lori. I'm glad that you were able to jump on with us, even though you got here at the end, the later part of our discussion. That's completely okay. And for those of you who are watching this as a recording, if you like this video, click like on YouTube or on Facebook, wherever you happen to see this, and subscribe to us on YouTube as well. So with that, have a great, awesome, amazing week, and we'll see you next time on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now. Here we go. Okay, I think we are off the live stream now. Perfect.
Wow, we do always have, it's reminded me of, how we always have like such really great, deep conversations about these things.
We really do, and and sometimes throughout the week I'm like, gosh, I wish I had more time to dedicate to like reading and like making notes and writing more things, like share more stuff, and it doesn't always work out that way, which I guess that's kind of a fear or something, a fear that we're not going to have a good conversation. I don't know why I would even think that. Who knows? Because we always do. So I don't know. We just got to live in the moment. I have to remind myself of that sometimes too, of that whole just, Well, one thing I did forget to say on the live stream was that one of the things I tell myself a lot when I start getting stressed out is I say to myself, you always know the right thing to do at the right time, at the right moment. You always have the right thing to say. That's what you're supposed to say. So it's just trust. And we get into that more in this chapter, the aspect of trusting ourselves. So I'm looking forward to talking about that.
That's great. That's a great saying. I like that.
Yep, I know I gotta constantly remind Tyler about living in the moment too, because he gets so stressed out about work and future things, a whole bunch of other stuff, you know, and fixates on it. And he gets so stressed, and you can just feel it just rolling off him. It's like, baby, we can't control this. We have control over this. Can we change this right now? Well, no. What's the point of stressing out about it? You're just adding more stress, and you're just adding more anger and more frustration to your life right now when we're all just trying to have a good time.
I have to remind myself all the time that, you know, I'm okay. Right here, I'm okay. Whatever's going on, I'm okay.
Exactly. We still have a roof over our head. We still have
mean anything, right? That I'm okay. It can mean anything, even though I'm like in the worst headache that I'm having, and you know, or some kind of crap is hitting the fan or whatever. I'm okay right here. I'm okay. It's all.
It can be difficult, you know, to have a good time in the moment, but then when all this stuff is over your head, but
right.
You know, I think sometimes like being able to draw that appreciation out for the moment out into the future can even sometimes alter the way we, you know, the resistance in our path, and maybe even make things better. You know, it's like, well, you go into it with going into a situation with the right mindset, you know. I think you could probably just plan on going through this book one paragraph at a time.
It seems like we do that sometimes, you know. Well, even when we were reading the Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer, where we were going through the Tao Te Ching, and it would be like one tiny little paragraph, this poem in the Tao Te Ching, and we'd be on that one for like multiple weeks. You know? So,
yeah.
What did it take us 2 years to go through that book?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Sometimes there's so much packed in, you know, to some of these books, even though they're, you know, that was a long book, but like, you know, a couple of these books that we've done lately have been smaller, shorter books, but yet we've had so much packed in that we brought a lot of stuff out. And I was gonna throw a point out to something that you were saying, that, you know, it's interesting how, you know, we let a lot of future thinking, and I like what Lori said, she gets stressed when she gets too much into future thinking. And I think that's part of what we all do, is we get too stressed. And going back to what Angel said, sometimes we got to go back and say, you know, we can't control that yet now. So why stress on it? You know, yes, be mindful of it and understand that it's possibility is out there. But I think going to what Jason was saying is, maybe if we can get through and work through that, what we're going through now, and pull out what positive things are out of it, or look toward the things like you said, pushing through a migraine or something. I've only had a migraine maybe once, maybe twice in my life. And the one I had, one I remember wholeheartedly, lasted 3 days. And I was almost in tears finally when I called my mom, and, you know, and she said, you know, try this, do this. And I did that, and it helped, but it got me back to where I could focus on some of the more normal things. And, but maybe, you know, in that, if we can get back to that more positive, more in the moment, enjoying it, it might have an effect on that future outcome though too. And we might come up with the thing that will alleviate or fix that thing or something like that. And I know, like for me, going back to when I was working at the job I was working at in February, that I resigned from in June, because it was just not, it was not the right place. But normally I know in the past where I would have been more worried about, okay, I got to keep my bills paid, I got to keep doing this, I got to, you know, I just have to suck it up and just, you know, this time I stepped back and said, no, my well-being is more important, and my being able to sleep and rest and be okay with, you know, how I'm feeling is more important than this job. I'll do what I need to do. And that's when I started Ubering full time. But the stress release factor, the minute I made that decision and when I sent that email saying, I resigned, the stress was gone, almost instantaneously. So even though I wasn't sure how this was going to pan out with doing Uber full time and, put my life into that sense of true uncertainty. But
We
all
always
I
have
know is,
so much like fear around making these decisions that we know we ultimately want to make. We get all wrapped up in the idea of all these what ifs that could bad happen or that we're supposed to, do or whatever, particularly when it comes to work and work that stresses us out and makes us unhappy. And like, yeah, I may be paying my bills with this, but it's making me so angry and frustrated and sick at my stomach or, whatever. And then when we make that decision to make a change and it just seems like it's just fine. And we're like, oh, why didn't I just do this sooner? Then we move forward a little ways and we realize, oh, well, I'm still okay. The whole world didn't end because I made this decision. It's actually better. We forget that we can just trust ourselves to know what to do in the moment. And it was like when I quit pet grooming, I'd been doing that for 17 years and it was just wearing me out and stressing me out. And I had other things that I thought, were more important, but yet I kept doing it because I'm like, well, I have to pay the bills. I have to this, I have to that, and, and not that was the thing that caused us to have our financial ruin, because we did go through a financial ruin. And this is a good example, I think, because we make some changes in our life and we're worried about this potential financial disaster that might happen because of it. And but yet, even going through our financial issues that we went through after I had stopped doing that and after our trucking company fell apart and everything kind of went to shit for a while financially, we still were okay. Even through the whole thing, we were okay. It wasn't like we got ran over by a truck or something, and died. Or, I mean, I don't know. I mean, even when shit's happening that's bad, it's still okay. You're still okay. And and when we did the interview with David Rippey, and he had his I can't remember, did he have an accident? Yeah, he had an accident and then became paralyzed, but he was still okay. Even though he wasn't okay, he was still okay. And that's a weird thing to try and wrap our heads around, that we're still okay. And I think one of the biggest things that this book and the previous book was trying to tell us is that this life that we're experiencing right now is simply an experience, just like going on a roller coaster. And I think one of the books even said, compared life to a roller coaster of, we climb up the ladder or get on, a slide or whatever. We're about to get on this roller coaster and we have all these fears and we don't know what's going to happen, et cetera, et cetera. And then we go on it and it happens and it's all crazy and we have all this adrenaline. And then at the end, we still are back at the beginning again and we're still okay. And we were okay through the whole thing. But that ultimately, this life is just an experience like that. And that when we are done with it, we're still going to be okay. And
one of the earlier chapters that we were reading in this book where it was kind of saying where it's just because you have temporarily become afraid of your very own creation does not mean you're not safe, or something like that. That quote kind of just popped in my head. But I also wanted to add on to getting caught up and not being able to be happy in that moment, or like when something bad happens you get stuck in that. I wanted to add like what I like to do is I'll think back onto another situation in my life where I felt like I was stuck or felt like I wasn't where I needed to be or something like that, or something bad was happening, and it's just like, and I came out on the other side of that situation okay. It's like I'm here, I'm still here. I made it through that situation. I made it through that. I mean, what makes me think I can't make it through this now? So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there before we got too far off the topic. But yeah, it's kind of like, I've made it through all of these other bad situations where I thought that I wasn't going to make it out of, or I thought I was just going to be stuck there forever. And here I am now, out of that situation, not stuck or anything like that. It's like, if I can make it through that, I can make it through anything. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there too. But yeah, that also reminded me of that quote, just because we come temporarily afraid of our very own creation does not mean that we're not going to wind up back into that state. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. No, I think that's great. And yeah, Lori just commented on here, or was it Lori? Too bad we aren't still on the recording. We actually are recording. I didn't stop recording. I just stopped the live broadcast on Facebook. So I've kind of learned my lesson, I think, sometimes, because we'll do this, we'll stop our broadcast and then we can't stop talking. So we just keep going. So I'm just going to keep recording until afterwards, and I'll have like I think I'm going to do like an edit in the video, because I've been editing the videos anyway, but I'll do like okay, end, and then I'll do like another little screen that flips over and says, but we kept on talking. Here's the unedited version, whatever. I don't know.
The after party.
The after
Like
show,
they
the
like
show
they do
after the show.
well, like they do with
Always
like
footage.
these housewives of OC and stuff in these shows, or Big Brother, where they do the after and get into the juicy little behind the, well, yeah,
The
you can
behind the
make that,
scenes.
you can make
Right.
this that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because we'll just be like, oh, and then we thought we were done, but I guess we weren't. We kept on talking.
So
Maybe it's
that
better
was
for people to be
the
on the live and jump on camera and be part of it, so they get the back end of it as well too, right?
Right?
the how do we really feel on the unedited.
Well, it just keeps going. It's the same as what it was. I don't think we really hold back, when we're
No, 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 I don't think we do.
What'd you say, Angel?
I don't think we do either, but it's, it's like, but people might think that, and you can say, no, we really do.
So we just keep it going, but other people might think it, just what Lori said over in the messages, extra scenes.
Yeah, exactly. Extra scenes or the continuation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue. There we go.
Still living in the now.
Yep.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Living in the now. Like what you're saying, Angel, it kind of dawned on me that like we do have that. We have, once we are aware, when we're living in an awareness that now is the destiny that was brought us to this point, and that we can choose to bring that appreciation into the future. We can choose to also, decide to be motivated by reward rather than by the fear. So we can say, well, like you said, when I get to that point, I'll be able to handle it, because hey, things aren't exactly perfect right now, but I can handle it now, and I'm appreciative, and so.
Yeah, and you've gone through it before too. It's like, I've been through this, I came out on the other side. If I can get through that, I can get through this.
Yeah, because like when you have a migraine, I'm sorry you're going through migraines, Samantha. I mean, and Dan, they can be really difficult, and from my experience, it's like you start to be just so appreciative of the times when we've been able to be comfortable, just to feel comfortable and not have the pain. So it's you start to have appreciation for just the little things, just the tiniest of the little things. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be, when I feel better, I'm gonna really appreciate this, that I can do this, or that's the way, so maybe that's like, being able to find that peace within the pain, focusing on that. But I mean, I don't know, everyone goes through it differently, but I wish you well with that for sure. Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I feel like sometimes when because for me, a migraine is it's like completely incapacitating, or it feels like that sometimes, but yet even when it's at this most extreme, if there is something that is happening in my life that I just have to handle, like for instance, when my dad moved in with us back in December, it was happening. He was coming regardless of what was going on in my life. This was going to happen. And I started to have a migraine that day. And it was really difficult having that and still having to do everything that was involved with bringing him here. And but I realized that, yeah, even though that pain was very, very intense and it was hard to get through and it probably lasted longer than it needed to because of everything that was going on, I still got through it. And I still eventually the pain went away, but it was just, it's interesting how we can have these experiences in life and we think they're so horrible, but yet we somehow manage to get through them. And I had another thought. I remember back a number of years ago, and I think you all were all, except for Lori, I think you guys were all with me at the time, was when we made the decision to leave Indiana and go to Georgia. And we had planned on following this path, and we were gonna go after our destiny, if you will, or follow our dreams, or whatever you wanted to call it. And one of the things that I had told my husband was that we have been through some shit in our life. We've had some financial hardships, we've had some difficulties, we've had all these things, and somehow we have still we've made a way and made it happen, but we weren't following what we wanted to do, and we still made that shit happen. I'm like, why not make the decision to do what we really want to do and make that shit happen, just the same way. It's like, it may not be what we think we're supposed to do, but, if all the crap falls apart like it has when we thought we were doing what we were supposed to do, if everything falls apart when we're doing something we actually want to do, maybe the falling apart won't be so bad. I don't know. It's just kind of like, we made it happen when we had to, so why not make it happen when we want to? So it's the same thing. We're still going to have the same kind of life experiences. We're going to have ups and downs. We're going to have positive days. We're going to have negative days. We're going to have sick days. We're going to have well days. Why not have all that following the path we want to follow versus doing what we think we're supposed to do and still having all those things happen? So it's going to happen regardless. We may as well just do it.
Well, it's interesting between what's all been brought out, and it takes me back to something, and I've read it in the Bible, but it kind of alludes a little bit to some of, I think, what we're talking about is that peace that goes beyond all understanding. And I think that's part of what that is, no matter what you're going through, and when you get through it, and most of the time we get through it, sometimes easier, sometimes they're easier than others, but sometimes they're really hard and you really get pushed to the brink and, feel like you're never going to come back from that. I know I've been there. But when you get through it and when you go back, there's a peacefulness about that you can bring into what you're doing now. But I think we forget to go back to that and really realize that and bring that sense of feeling and overcoming into what we're doing now that we're feeling like we just can't get through. But if you can go back and harness that sense of once you got through it, of that, okay, I handled this, I can handle whatever else comes, and keep that in play and use it in the moment now, to experience what's going on now. I think that's part of the key. I think that's part of, winning that type of battle to move on, to be able to move into the next, and the way I say this is going to sound funny, predetermined thing that's not determined yet until we get to that moment, if that makes sense. Because of that free will thing and things coming in and other people interacting. But once we get to that next moment or whatever it is, then we'll be in it, and it will now be predetermined because we made those steps.
I think we're always so afraid to make a mistake. We're afraid that the decision that we make is going to somehow, I don't know, screw us or whatever. and then,
A lot of people focus on is the mistakes that somebody else has made.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, and it's also in a lot of other things too. It's just like everybody, you can do 1,000 good things and nobody bats an eye, but as soon as you do that one bad thing or that one mistake, everybody focuses on it. And I think that's why we get kind of caught up on being so afraid of making a mistake, is because as soon as we make that mistake, everybody's going to point it out to us. Yeah, we could do, like I said, 1,000 good things or make, 1,000 non-mistakes. Nobody's going to say a word to you. Nobody's going to be like, oh, good job, you didn't make a mistake, but as soon as you do make that mistake, everybody's like, how could you? So I think that's one of those things that we're afraid to make mistakes. But I also wanted to say, back to the whole having a hard time trying to be in the moment, or kind of like what we were saying earlier. It's just another way of thinking of it, instead of looking back and saying, I have overcome this, because I know a lot of people have a hard time doing that. So another thing that I like to do sometimes when I get stuck in those voids or those circles where it's just like, oh, this is never going to end, this is going to be horrible for forever, it's like I always, and I know this might not be the best thing to say, but it's like all things have an ending. I wouldn't necessarily say all things, but a lot of things do, unlike energy, which is going on forever and ever, but like small things like movies, the movies always come to an end. Shows always come to an end. The day always comes to an end. Everything has an ending. And so, yeah, like you said, Mom, this too shall pass. I will get through this. This will end eventually. It might not end today, but it could end tomorrow or a week from now, but this will come to an end and I will get out of it. So just kind of repeating my point in a different way, I guess. Sorry, I really needed to say that.
You know what I say? Everything has its season, and even energy changes its state.
Yeah, it may not end, but it does change direction. So.
I like what you said, Dan, about the predetermined, what is it, path or destiny, yet it's not yet predetermined.
The undetermined, predetermined. Yeah.
Well,
That's great. Yeah, totally.
That thought in the process, it could be undetermined. Like Dan was saying, it's undetermined until you choose to determine what it is, or until you choose to push that energy onto that path, then it's a predetermined, per se. I guess, maybe. I don't know. I got lost mid-sentence.
Kind of makes me think of destiny as sort of the end result, if given enough time, where we will kind of end up, or something that we will sort of end up doing, may not be the ultimate sort of destiny, but something that we may, that is sort of programmed into us to do at some point, kind of like a droplet of water. Eventually it's going to reach the ground. It may get hung up in the trees, it may rest on a rock and dry up and get back up into the sky and then fall again, but eventually it's going to reach the ground and nourish the plants and animals and earth. So it's still a destiny, but perhaps just taking a different path, and maybe that path opens up for us, like they say, when the time is right.
Or it could just be something that you didn't realize was it, because I've done a lot of spiritual, I'm learning a lot about spiritual healing and my spirituality and stuff like that. And I keep seeing this thing where it's just like, just because you ask for happiness doesn't mean it's going to come exactly how you ask for it. It could come in the form of different things and you just don't realize it. So it's kind of one of those, it's just one of those things. It's like, just always be aware, like Like you feel that you might want happiness with this one person, and if you can't do it with this one person, then it's just over. But in reality, the universe is sending you this different person that you are happy with, but just because you had it so focused on this other person, you don't see this, you know. So it's kind of one of those, like, just because it's not in the form that you want it to be doesn't mean it's not going to be, per se, if you kind of understand what I'm getting at. You know, it's happiness is always in the form that you, I wouldn't say always, but there's a lot of times it's in the form that you least expect it to be, or it's not exactly how you asked it or it's not exactly how you wanted it, but it's still there. You know, like another example would be like, okay, like a simple example, like, oh, I wanted to go on a vacation to the beach, to the coast. I would love to be so happy, so amazing, so awesome, but you couldn't find anything, all the hotels were booked, or you just couldn't get the time to do it, yet you have a lake that's, you know, an hour or so away from you that still has sand on it.
I'm going to be busy for a minute, okay, guys?
You know, that's kind of like a beachy, but it's not the ocean. So of course you're not going to think that that's good enough, you know, but when you go there and you actually sit down, put your feet in the sand at the lake, it still kind of feels the same. There's still sand and there's still water. There's still people out on the boats and whatnot, you know. I mean, granted, it's a different vibe, but in a sense, it's the same, per se. I think I lost you. But I mean, do you kind of understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I get it.
Sure.
It's oh,
Hi,
Sandy.
guys. I gotta run. Ciao.
Okay. It's
All right, Sandy, bye-bye. Take care.
it's
And Lori said, this too shall pass. She likes that.
yeah.
You're the phrase.
It's realizing that I think and I think the book goes into this, is it's what, even though you might think it in here, in your thoughts here but it's what your energy puts out into, and the energy, and that energy is the true form of what you're looking for. So, and if you're open to that, the source, universe, God, however you look at it, I call it God, gives you that in this form,
But it's not
which is it's the correct form, but it's not the one that you in this
your mind.
in this physical are thinking that it should be, but yet the universe, you know, takes your true energy and your, you know, that true what you're asking for and gives that to you, but we don't see it. And that's why I think going back to being in that moment and learning and realizing, you know, to look at the whole moment so you can encompass it all and hopefully see those things and take them for their true worth and value to help move into that direction of the destiny that goes back to the destiny of when we were in creation and with, you know, one, for better way of how I can more at oneness with God and energy and thought and all that, and to what we wanted to be and experience in this existence.
I just had a thought for like a very simplified version or a very simplified example of kind of what this is. The thought is it's kind of like, I'm going back to children, to kids. It's like when they ask you for a snack, like, hey, I want this, I want chips, you know, and they have this image of you're going to put chips in the blue bowl, you know, but in reality that blue bowl is dirty, so I put chips in the green bowl and give them to you. Yet that's not what they wanted. So they're obviously going to throw a fit, just like my two. I get two bowls mixed up, you know, I have a panda bowl and a giraffe bowl. And if I give one of them the wrong bowl, they're going to lose their minds. I mean, granted, it's the same thing, just a different bowl, you know? So the universe is kind of like one of those where it's just like, I'm giving this to you. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just not the same color that you expected it to be. You know, it's kind of like one of those, like, it's still got chips in it, don't it? Like, it's still got the food. Well, yeah, but it's not how I wanted it to be. It's like, it's still the food, though. That's the main thing that you asked for, is you asked for the food. You didn't ask for the color. You just asked for this. So I'm giving you this, but just in a bit different thing. So I feel like that was a really good example of that too.
Well, I'm gonna say I'm gonna bow out because I've got pest control guys coming, and I want to get a little ready for when they show up, so that way I can get them in and get them out, so I can move on with my day. It's been great chatting with everybody and seeing
Yeah.
everybody after the holidays and
Mhm.
getting into the book. So I definitely look forward
Yeah.
to next week. So I see you all later.
Hi, Dan.
Have a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Bye.
I'm gonna need to get going too. I like what you said though about like, kids can be so hyper focused on that one thing, especially in that moment. We got, if we can harness that focus too from one moment to the next in order to get to where we want to go and find that path, to our purpose, then that's that could be helpful. Kind of getting back to our childhood and having that focus without the fear.
Yeah, and having kids has really kind of opened me up to that, and it's really helped out with my spiritual journey. It's just watching them and seeing them and being in the moment with them and seeing how they view and feel the world is completely different than how we do it ourselves, because we're we're grown-ups, we're adults, we've been through it, we've passed our point of childhood. I mean, even though we're all still children on the inside, we got responsibilities and stuff like that. Just watching them be so free and so worryless without having any responsibilities, it's almost inspiring, kind of. It's like they're always so happy. It doesn't matter. Hang on, buddy. Even if they do hit a stumble and they fall down and they just have this utter moment of like a complete meltdown, 10 minutes later, they're back to being the happiest little creatures you've ever met. And it's like they can quickly go back to it, which is just really inspiring. It's really helped me keep an open mind about everything as well, too.
Yeah, that's good.
They're definitely interesting creatures.
Yeah. Well, I got to get going too. I've got to kind of stay on the schedule myself. I have to do some training before I've got a meeting at 2. So I'm gonna hop off, but it was good, talking to you and being on in the group again for sure.
I wasn't sure
Always a good time.
if you were in the group before or not, so I didn't really want to say anything